You ever wonder who creates these movie posters that we see? I used to for a long time. That's until Netflix messaged me.
I'm at the tippy top of my game, looking down at the rafters. No downplaying my accomplishments. You call me arrogant, I take it as a compliment. I got that confidence. Come on now.
What's going on? My name is Jared Burke. Yes, that's how you spell my name. And 13 years ago, I opened Photoshop, and I've been designing for companies pretty much ever since. Now, granted, there were times where I struggled too and trying to figure out how to find clients. But after almost 13 years, there's certain tools and tricks in Photoshop and the other programs, Illustrator, After Effects, Canva, Premiere Pro. There's certain tricks and tools that I've used on a daily basis. There's others that I haven't used since 2010. So I say that to say I made this channel so that I could teach you the practical ways of designing versus just getting into all the list of thousands of tools that are in the program. No, what do I actually use on a daily basis? What are these things that I actually am putting into work? And what are the tools that are never being used? Because those are the ones I'm not going to focus on. And I'm someone that's created over 4,000 projects, and I've been working from home for over a decade. So that's kind of my intro. I'll do a little bit more about myself in another video, but I want to focus on just what you guys came here for. Netflix, they hit me up. What happened? Let's talk about it. This happened a few years ago, somewhere around 2020, and it was as simple as them reaching out to my Instagram, someone from the company, and I kind of ignored it because I always get DMs and stuff, and I didn't have time to check. But then I got an email not too long after, and it was from the same person. And this time they had big and bold Netflix, and they were like, hey, we want to work with you. We think you're dope. So I was originally brought in for more of like my collage work, more of this like flashy work that I do. But I ended up working on My Next Guest Needs No Introduction by David Letterman. So I did a suite of designs. I'll show those here. It was kind of one of my first things that I did with Netflix. So for them to be like, hey, this might be seen by 180 million people, I was like, wow, like this is just more validation of like the type of work that I'm doing. And to make it through all the tiers of what it takes to get your artwork actually on the Netflix app and platform, it's not easy. I've done plenty of work that hasn't made it, but it's part of the game. But let's jump into that file. I want to just show you like what I was thinking about, because this isn't one of my more flashy pieces. It's very simple, and it's based on just kind of like editing a photo. So how do you tell a story in a matter of seconds? That's what this photo and this piece of artwork was about, because I wanted to give a snapshot of what you could expect when you've seen Kim K on his episode. Can't repeat more. So now we have this Kim K file open. If you see over here on the layers, let me drag this up just a little bit. See, if you see over here on the layers, it's not really that many layers. So I'll turn off this end badge. We'll open up the contents, turn off the title, and we're gonna move down into the artwork. Getting into this art file, this whole piece was just about the lighting, the spotlight, which is pretty much like atmosphere is what they call it, and adjustments. And then you have a few masks that I use down here. So let's break those down just a little bit, and then we kind of understand how I put this together. So if I turn off all of these layers, let's go through all these layers and turn them off. It's literally just a picture of I can't even say her name. It's just a picture of Kim Kardashian. So what happens is that you get to see either the movie or the TV show early, and you get to kind of understand what's going on with the project so that you can kind of tell the story without telling the story. So last thing you want to do is make a movie poster that has the end scene on it or something vital that happens in the movie. But you also want to tell the story to have enough intrigue for people to want to see it. So pretty much here, the first thing that I did was I got rid of the mic. Even though it's an interview, we know it's an interview, we don't want to see the mic in the actual cover file. So to do that, all I did is I brought a layer up, and what I can do is go in here using the clone tool, and I would just zoom in, kind of bring down my brush a little bit, and I'll explain all this stuff in my videos about tutorials. I just want to give you an idea of what I did with this one. And then I would just simply start to get rid of this whole mic, you know what I'm saying? And there's so many different ways that you could do this. It doesn't have to be the clone tool. They could also be, probably the two that I would use is either the clone tool or I would use this spot healing tool. Maybe content aware in certain situations, but this is kind of going back to my point of Photoshop. There are hundreds of tools, but I would probably only use 3 out of those tools to get this job done, something practical and quick. Then you have this layer here where it's edited and the mic is now gone. Then we're just going to add in some rim lighting on her hair. So we just want a little bit more lighting on her, because in this sense, I know that I'm going to bring down the lights that are in the background when Dave is talking to her. I want you to see those things so that you understand that she's on a stage. In order to do that, what I did is I pretty much, and I'll do it again just to show you real quick. What I did is I added this curves layer, and if I get rid of this layer, I then have this curves layer that looks just like this, right? It's kind of like blown out, but you want it to be blown out because you want the highlights to really speak. So now that I'm back on this layer right here, then I would just go back down here and make a mask again. And then once I have that mask, I would just do it over. And I'll use this black brush because black is going to take away from whatever effect is there when it's coming to masks, and the white is going to add back in. So even if I start to do this just a little bit, you'll start to see how now the lighting is going away. And the main thing that I want to keep there is the rim lighting on her hair. Everything else, I don't need to keep. So even if for this purpose of this example, I'm just gonna erase all of this, right? But what's left, if I were to turn this off and on, maybe this piece right there, but let's focus on right here, okay? But what's left is this just rim lighting around her hair, and I would just come in here and I would also just kind of get rid of the middle area of the ponytail, just because I want the rim lighting to only be accentuating the ponytail. So if I go back to the original one I had, that's how I added the rim lighting. It was pretty simple. And then we are going to just add in a little bit of atmosphere. So that's with these 3 right here. And if I were to group those to show you, it's just adding a bit of haze, but some lighting to just kind of accentuate her and kind of less focus on the yellow dress. And got another purple light here. I don't even know what the heck this one is. Okay, that right there was an edit on the top of her head. And that pretty much bottles up the adjustments, just adding in a little bit of flair to the actual photo. And now we're getting into the spotlight. So adding in these lights, but if I were to take away this mask by dragging this to the garbage can down here, it's just Kim K in the background with Dave, and the lights are there. So I know what's going to be there. Now, how do I make that work with her being like the main focus? And I added the Gaussian blur just so it's not as in focus. So a little Gaussian blur, and we add back that mask. Then that's how you have it looking like she's now just looking at Dave with the 2 lights shining on her, and she's like a big focal point of this cover. Next, we're just gonna add a little bit of lighting, which is, let's see here. So sometimes I use levels and curves. Other times I use actual paint brushes or the brush tool to get it done. Because with the brush tool, I can, let's say, take layer 4 right here. I can make the color the same color as the light, and then I just bring that down to 7%. So now you have this subtle light that's gonna leak into the photo. So this design is really interesting because it was about the small details that turn this image into something like this. As you can see, a piece like this is not as flashy as some other artwork that you might see on the screen right now, but it does go to show that you have to understand how to put a composition together, how to bring in the things that are going to give those cues that are needed, especially when it comes to movie posters and different eye-catching art like that, because you don't want to tell too much, but you also want to give them an idea of what's going to happen. So as you can see, art is so much about telling the story versus just making a whole bunch of cool, dope effects and adding them onto a photo. So when it comes to stuff like that, how can you bring in the lighting, take away the mic, the different subtleties? Those are going to be the things that take your artwork to another level, just because you're now getting into not only what the viewer sees, but what they're also going to feel. I've created a whole bunch of art at this point in my career, from corporate to fashion to sports and everything in between, media obviously, and entertainment. So if you want to see something specific, just let me know in the comments, and I'll actually put that into fruition, make some tutorials based on that. And it doesn't have to be just Photoshop. I do some Illustrator and After Effects and different things like that. If you found some value, make sure you like, subscribe, share. I don't know what I'm supposed to tell you. Like, subscribe, and share, right? But at the end of the day, I'm just gonna keep giving the knowledge I have. That's all I got. This is my first episode, so or first channel video. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. But yeah, this is my first video. There'll be more to come. It's Jay.
Like I'm at the tippy top of my game, looking down at the rafters. No downplaying my accomplishments. You call me